that you use illegals and you use illegal aliens. I don't think anyone. I don't think they're people. They're undocumented people. They are human beings. They're not illegals. They're not illegal aliens.
They're in the country illegally.
That's dehumanized.
Is it in the law, Ellie?
Dehumanized.
Question this way, that you can't say there is a single illegal alien that should be deported by the federal government.
What is shocking to me is that you think you can narrow
Illegal alien that you would deport.
You know, this is what I want you to focus on.
Is there one?
I want you to focus on.
Democratic position for 26.
The
that there are
Democratic
no
position
illegal
in
aliens that should be
26,
deported?
the Democratic position in 26 is that we do. They don't need to go into communities like Memphis,
Do they need to
Tennessee,
deport illegal aliens?
where they're currently terrorizing and traumatizing our communities. What we also need to make sure is that we have elected officials who are creating.
You see what just happened there? That wasn't a policy debate. That was a setup. That was Scott Jennings trying to corner someone with a loaded phrase he knows will trigger fear, emotion, and division. Illegal aliens. Over and over again. Not immigrants, not undocumented people, not human beings, no illegal aliens. And then he acts shocked when someone calls it out. This is the game. Reduce a complicated immigration debate into one dramatic yes or no question so you can clip it, tweet it, and pretend you scored a knockout. But here's the problem. The American people aren't stupid. They can see when someone is playing politics instead of looking for solutions. And if you caught that tone shift too, if you felt that tension rise, the moment he doubled down on the wording, you're not alone. Stick around because it only gets worse from here. And when you're done watching, I want to hear your take in the comments.
Judge found that U.S. Border Patrol Chief Greg Bovino, quote, admitted that he lied during a deposition about being hit in the head with a rock before deploying tear gas at protesters in the Chicago area. Should Greg Bovino be fired or charged for lying?
Look, if a judge declared he lied under oath, he needs to be investigated. I think if anybody acts outside of policy, then the Internal Affairs opens the investigation. That's the way we handle it.
That was Tom Homan, Trump's border czar, basically throwing the man he replaced in Minneapolis under the bus, but also raising some really important questions about this accountability issue, as we were just discussing. There is lying happening, and in this case, it was by one of the top officials. Shouldn't there be accountability for that?
I love Tom Homan. He said it just right. He perfectly pitched it because he understood the politics of it and the on-the-grounds optics of it. And he completely deflated the media's narrative that we don't hold our own people accountable. He's holding his own team accountable.
Except that Tom Homan himself has not been held accountable for the $50,000 he collected from an undercover FBI agent in a kava bag, and yet he's still up there running this department. Where is the credibility when you have people who are themselves, who should be under investigation, who are telling the American public that other people will be investigated?
There's also the case, by the way, of that woman who was shot 5 times by federal officers. And there was body cam footage. They still lied about it. They tried to charge her with the crime, and it was only revealed when the judge looked at the footage and said they threw out the case. So have those officers been prosecuted? No, not that I know of.
That's right. This administration cannot be trusted, and they can be trusted to hold themselves accountable. Even after the killing of Alex Pretty and Renee Good, they didn't want to share information about what was happening, which is why we have to abolish ICE. We have to abolish the Customs and Border Patrol in the way that they currently exist and replace them with something that actually does the work that we need for them to do, which is why we need a Congress that works and that is effective at holding these people in this administration accountable. I'll tell you what the work is not. The work is not killing American citizens.
You said the work we need
our
them to do. I'm interested in your opinion. What is the work that we need them to do?
Absolutely. One, the work is not killing American citizens.
No, what is the work we need them to do?
Well, first, let's look at what they don't need to do. They don't need to go into communities like Memphis,
Tennessee. Do they need to deport illegal aliens?
Where they're currently terrorizing and traumatizing our communities. What we also need to make sure is that we have elected officials who are creating a pathway of opportunity for people who are currently undocumented.
Do we need a federal law enforcement agency to deport illegal aliens, yes or no?
We do need a federal law enforcement agency that deals with immigration, that doesn't kill people.
To deport illegal aliens,
what we
yes or no?
also need is laws that make sure that people who are undocumented...
Is there a single illegal alien that you would deport?
You know, this is what I want you to focus on.
Is there one?
I want you to focus on. There are a lot of people in this country and
One.
in this community, in our communities,
Is there one?
that have done so much to make them better, and we need to be prioritizing
So the
how
answer
we
is
create
no?
opportunity.
Is
and
this the
access
Democratic
them
position
to
for
be there.
26?
The
That there are
Democratic
no
position
illegal
in
aliens that should be
26
deported?
The Democratic position in 26 is that we don't terrorize American citizens, we don't terrorize undocumented
If you were
people,
advising
and we
Democrats in
don't kill
26, would you
people
advise
like
them to
Alex
answer this
Preddy
question
and
this
Renee
way,
Good?
that you can't say there is a single illegal alien that should be deported by the federal government?
What is shocking to me is that you think you can narrow the challenges of
It's not narrow, it's
immigration.
broad. There's 20 million
that you can
here.
challenge the issues of immigration into one yes or no question, when the reality is the policies and practices
should we follow
of
the law
this
is the yes or no
administration have led to the deaths of American citizens and has not produced
Let me
the
let
results
someone
that
else
No
get in.
deportations.
Go
That's
ahead.
the Democratic position.
This is where the tactic becomes obvious. Notice how Scott pivots. When the conversation starts about accountability, about officials lying under oath, suddenly it's internal investigations, and that's the process. But the moment someone criticizes enforcement practices, he switches to outrage mode. That's selective accountability, and viewers catch that. You can't demand crystal clear answers from everyone else while giving your own side fog and excuses. And here's the bigger issue. Reducing immigration to one dramatic yes or no question ignores the nuance that actually exists. Violent offenders, most Americans agree on deportation there. Long-term undocumented workers with no criminal record, that's a completely different conversation. But nuance doesn't go viral. Nuance doesn't make for flashy cable clips. Conflict does. Loaded language does. And repeating illegal aliens over and over absolutely does. The strategy is simple. Frame the opposition as extreme, avoid discussing systemic failures, and keep the focus on emotional triggers. But here's the thing. When you rely on rhetoric instead of substance, people eventually notice. And if you're noticing it too, drop your thoughts below. I'm curious, did that question feel genuine to you, or did it feel like a trap?
This was fascinating as an exchange, but, Scott, the gotcha questions.
It's not gotcha. It's a legitimate question. What do you think about it? I'm interested as an opinion.
I don't represent the Democratic Party. I represent my own interest. And what the Democratic Party does is up to them. But I actually agree with what Justin said. I think that there is a role for immigration enforcement, obviously, in this country. But I don't think we need to use ICE to be doing that. We were able to do this in this country before ICE was created, and we don't need them in the future. But having said that, I objected the whole time that you used illegals and you used illegal aliens. I don't think anyone. I don't think
What's the right term?
they are undocumented people. They are human beings. They're not illegals.
They're
not illegal aliens.
They're in the country illegally.
That's dehumanizing.
It's in the law. Is it in the law, Ellie?
Dehumanizing terminology that you're using.
Is the word illegal alien in the law?
Regardless of what the law says.
Is it in the
Regardless
law?
of what the law says, it's dehumanizing terminology.
I'm going to
other
quote the
terms that we
law.
wouldn't use, but yeah.
Okay. All right. We got to go and got to leave it there. Everyone.
Let's be honest about what this really was. This wasn't about immigration policy. It wasn't about crafting better enforcement. It wasn't even about protecting communities. It was about branding. Words matter. Framing matters. And when you deliberately choose the most provocative terminology possible, then hide behind, it's the law. You're not clarifying, you're escalating, you're signaling, and you know exactly who you're signaling to. Scott Jennings is a skilled debater. He knows how to press, how to corner, how to repeat a phrase until it sticks. But there's a difference between sharp debate and strategic dehumanization. When you keep hammering illegal aliens, you're not just describing legal status, you're painting an image. And images shape public perception far more than policy details ever will. That's why the pushback mattered. Because once language goes unchecked, it becomes normalized. And once it's normalized, it becomes weaponized. Now, here's the reality most people actually live in. Immigration is complicated. Enforcement is necessary. Accountability is necessary. Humanity is necessary. All three can exist at the same time. But cable news thrives on false binaries. Either you deport everyone or you deport no one. Either you're tough or you're weak. That's not serious governance. That's performance. And here's the irony. The louder the rhetoric gets, the more it exposes itself. When you rely on repetition instead of reason, when you try to box people into viral yes or no traps, it starts to look less like strength and more like desperation. Viewers aren't blind. They see when someone is dodging complexity in favor of applause lines. So the real question isn't whether one person answered yes or no. The real question is this: Are we having honest conversations, or are we staging political theatre? Because if it's theatre, people eventually walk out. I want to know what you think. Was that tough questioning, or was it calculated framing? Drop your perspective in the comments. Let's actually debate it without reducing each other to talking points.